It seems, Minister, that almost on a weekly basis now you're bringing a resolution before us to amend the justice cooperation arrangements that we have in the European Union, and all with very good reason. Eurojust, some 20 years old, is one of the most important institutions to facilitate cooperation on criminal matters for law enforcement across the Union and beyond. And as we repeatedly say in debates of this kind, criminality certainly knows no borders. Eurojust, as has been indicated by several speakers, is important in the investigation and prosecution of serious cross-border crime. I suppose in the context that we're now talking, the most important issues are those crimes that involve genocide, crimes against humanity and war crimes. And I think all of us have just been horrified to our core at what is unfolding in Ukraine. Putin's aggression, the illegal and immoral invasion of Ukraine, seems to be almost bestial in its horror and the suffering and pain that the Putin regime is willing to unleash upon the civilian population of Ukraine. What has been uncovered so far in Bucha and other areas in satellite towns and villages of Kyiv is quite horrific. And what is even more shocking is what is happening this very minute in Mariupol, where it is thought that maybe 20,000 people or more are already dead. And the notion that portable crematoria are being brought in to dispose of bodies. This is beyond shocking. It's something that we thought we'd left behind us in the middle of the last century, in the Nazi regimes, and the horror that they've unfolded. So we certainly need to amend the capacity to ensure that the perpetrators of such appalling crimes are held to account. And I support the adjustments in the regulation that are proposed in the proposition before the House just now. They will allow, as others have said, the collection, preservation and analysis of evidence, and to secure it in a safe way, in a secure way. There are issues, and in other times we can talk about data security and cyber security, because obviously such a depository would be subject to cyber attack as well, and exactly the nature of data to be stored. But that is for us to maybe flesh out on another occasion. In the 2 minutes I have left, I want to mention another issue, and that is our own response in dealing with this issue. And the Minister has instanced our welcoming of refugees, and some 27,000 have been welcomed, and that's a really good thing. And communities, particularly our own Minister, as you will know, have opened their hearts and their arms to refugees. But I have the Proceeds of Crime Gross Human Rights Abuses Bill before the House for some time. It passed second stage and you responded to it yourself. It is before the committee, but it still hasn't received a money message authorisation from government. This is more than symbolic, but it really is symbolic as well. And I hear international commentators now talking about this piece of legislation that's before our legislature as an important part of the Magnitsky suite of laws that are being enacted everywhere, particularly on foot of the horrors unfolding in Ukraine. So can I ask you, Minister, in terms of the Proceeds of Crime Gross Human Rights Abuses Bill 2020, which is before committee and we're dealing with it, hopefully in the immediate future, will you go back to the Taoiseach and go back to the Senior Minister in the Department and ask that the money message would be sent to the committee so that this, I believe, really important piece of legislation, and people will say, well, it's not practical, how do we link the human rights abuses to the perpetrator? Well, that'll be true in all the investigations we're talking about here. But it is a signal that those who aid, abet, assist in any way in gross human rights abuses will be held to account, either through the International Criminal Court, but if any of them want to stash their loot here, that we will hold them to account and we will take it from them in the Proceeds of Crime legislation that we have in our jurisdiction. So my final comment is I would ask the Minister to take that back and to come back to me maybe with clarity on that issue. Guramagat.